Hello, everyone. Welcome to Touchdown on True Sports, brought to you by Pickups, your everything-on-demand delivery app. My name is Chantel Alicia, and I'm going to be your host for today's show. Joining me today are my analysts, Nolan Kangas, Luca Moya, and Stephen Clennon. Today, we're going to be giving you some insightful predictions for the second half of the season, starting off with our Midseason awards. So to get us started, we're going to start with Offensive Rookie of the Year. So Luca, who's your choice for Offensive Rookie of the Year and why?
I got Justin Herbert, guys, from the Chargers. We've been talking about him recently on this show, and he has been phenomenal this year. He's top 10 in passing yards, and he's only played 7 games, right? We know he missed the first game of the season. He wasn't even supposed to play this season if it weren't for Tyrod Taylor getting that false injection by the team doctor or something like that. And what a mistake it turned out to be, because Herbert is taking the league by storm. He has played phenomenal so far. I know the Chargers don't have that great of a record. They still have problems like every single season. They just can't win the close games. But Herbert is going to be a guy who's going to be there for probably the next 10 plus years, and that's really hard to find in the NFL. So I think Herbert has a great shot at winning this award, and I think he deserves it.
Justin Herbert. Yeah, I love quarterbacks, but I felt it was too easy. You know what? I think Justin Herbert's going to win it, but I wanted to just look up for some of these players who aren't really being looked at like a Justin Herbert or a Joe Burrow. So I went with Chase Claypool from the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think he's had a great season so far. 31 receptions, 444 yards, 5 touchdowns, 2 rush TDs. I think he's second in total touchdowns for rookies right now. He leads the Steelers in receptions and touchdowns. And if you're looking at it, he's not even one of their top 2 starters coming out there. He's like their third, maybe fourth receiver coming on the field as a rookie, and he's showing out as the best receiver right now for that team. People are saying, Antonio Brown who? This kid is growing right now. It's pretty crazy. Tony Romo even nicknamed him Mapletron because of his Canadian background and how good he looks and how much he's doing on the field. So I think he's nice. He's a really good, imagine him as a number 1 and number 2 option. He's looked great out there. I just want to say shout-outs also to a couple of the other guys who are out there who are rookies who are coming up. Justin Jefferson, I think he's up there comparable. I would put him up there as number 3 right now, probably on that list for sure. But I'm going with Chase Claypool.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to go back to Herbert, and I love the Chase Claypool pick, and I think it's really interesting. You mentioned he's not the 1 or the 2. Well, guess what? He's going to be the number 1 in soon time. I think Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be out the door. I think it's going to be Claypool and Deontay Johnson running the show there in Pittsburgh. You mentioned Jefferson. He's been terrific. CeeDee Lamb, obviously Dallas has had a tough year, but he's been pretty solid as well. None of us I picked Joe Burrow, though. And even though I'm not going to go that way, he's had a great year as well. But Herbert's numbers are just too good to give up, right? 17 touchdowns, only 5 picks, 2 scores on the ground. You look at Baker Mayfield's numbers. When he didn't win Rookie of the Year because he had to deal with Saquon Barkley, he had 27 touchdowns, 14 picks, which is pretty good numbers for a rookie. Herbert's going to smash those. And if it wasn't for Anthony Lynn, who I think is a great person, not a great coach, we've seen that the last couple of weeks, their play calling. You're going 2 goal line fades when that's not the most efficient play in the playbook when you got a quarterback who can pretty much do it all. He's 6'6". You could even sneak it if you wanted to or do a quarterback draw. Doesn't matter. I think he's been that good. Even though the wins aren't there, the numbers are there for me, and he's the quarterback of the future there for the Los Angeles Chargers. So he's my Offensive Rookie of the Year.
And those are both great choices, guys. I also have Justin Herbert at the top of my list. So since we're talking about rookies, let's move on to our next award, being Defensive Rookie of the Year.
So I'm going to start us off here, guys. I got Chase Young. And coming into the draft, I think he was widely regarded as the best prospect. Burrow was obviously going to go number 1. Cincinnati, they need a quarterback. He's doing great things there. That D-line for Washington, man, they are talented. They got first-round talent all over the board. They got Payne. They got Jonathan Allen from Alabama. Those 2 guys in the middle. We add a guy like Chase Young, who gets to be mentored by a great veteran in this league like Ryan Kerrigan. I think he's set up to success there in Washington, and you can't complain with his production, guys. This is a team that we probably didn't think that was going to be in the playoff race, but because of how bad their division is and because of everybody else in their division not taking advantage of teams losing, they're still in the race, and Chase Young can keep them in that race because Their quarterback just went down. Alex Smith now is going to be starting. What an amazing story that's going to be. But Chase Young, he's going to be the anchor of that defense for years to come. He is phenomenal. It seems like he just pops off your screen, guys. Every time you watch Washington, he's either in the backfield, he's making a crazy play. He is so explosive. Chase Young is my rookie of the year so far.
Yeah, definitely, Luca. I'm agree with you on that one 100%. I think Chase Young has been that guy so far this year. What are we looking at? 20 total tackles, 3.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble. He's been out there, but I think the most important thing that I've seen with his game is how frequently they're bringing double teams and sometimes even triple teams over just to take him out. And it's like teams are already game planning for his, like, to prevent his effectiveness on the field. And it's nice to see that from a young rookie out there. I want to say big shout outs to Patrick Queen, who I bigged up earlier this season. I think he's been strong too, but after going back and looking at some film, I just think Chase Young is a different player out there. And he really makes a difference for Montez Sweat on the other side, which makes that defensive line and that defensive front so much stronger. So yeah, I definitely think Chase Young's that guy.
I'm going to go off the board a little bit here because usually our defensive rookie of the year usually ends up being, that pass rusher who ends up getting 8-9 sacks. And, think of last year, Nick Bosa. I'm going to go defensive back. I'm going to go Antoine Winfield Jr. Over in Tampa Bay. Our question mark coming into the season was Tampa's going to have a really good front seven. We have seen that. We know what Devin White and Levante David can do is maybe the best 1-2 duo at linebacking. But the secondary was a question. And I think Antoine Winfield Jr. changes that quite a bit. 51 combined tackles, a forced fumble, a pick. He has 2 sacks, 2 for a safety, which is pretty impressive numbers. He's helping out that back end. Obviously, we didn't really see it, this past Sunday. But, I still think he's been really talented. And, yes, Chase Young's been great. Yes, Patrick Queen's been great. I think we have to mention Julian Blackman, the safety over in the Indianapolis Colts. He's been solid as well at Utah. I think there was some injury concerns with him coming into the draft. Well, guess what? He's proved those wrong. He's terrific. Antoine Winfield just been a step ahead for me. Will Young end up winning the award? Probably, but I think Winfield deserves some recognition. If he can come up with some big plays down the stretch and get Tampa back into maybe that number 1 seed in the NFC South, I think he has a chance to win this award.
Yeah, and again, like such great choices. I also have Chase Young at the top of my list. And that's just going to lead right into the next award because, we just finished talking about rookies and they need a lot of mentorship. So, Luca, who do you have for Coach of the Year?
I went back and forth on this one. I did. I was thinking of, maybe Mike Tomlin, obvious choice. His team is the best in the NFL record-wise. But I'm going to go with Brian Flores of the Miami Dolphins, guys. This is a team that last year they were the laughingstock of the NFL. And now the Jets kind of seem to overtake them. And Miami is a team that you can go into every single game and say, you know what, these guys have a chance to take down this team. They took down the Cardinals, who we were all thinking of putting in the top 5. No one put them in your top 5. So they took them down. Yeah, he missed the kick. I don't know how you missed a kick by going short when they're in the NFL. But we're going to just completely skip over that. But a guy like Flores, right, who had such good quarterback play with Ryan Fitzpatrick, he decides to go to a rookie in Tua Tagovailoa, and they're still winning football games. They just dominated the Rams last week. They beat the Cardinals this week. That defense, it's not going to be every week that your defense scores an offensive touchdown for you, but they're doing the things that they need to do. And when you have a young quarterback like that, I know he's only played 2 games, but they've looked terrific with Tua under center. Brian Flores, 5-3 for the Miami Dolphins, man. That is an amazing feature to have as your second-year head coach.
So, yeah, Luca, what you had difficulty in finding, I had so much ease in looking at, and I just took Mike Tomlin because that team is undefeated. We can all say that, and that's easy. Like, it's not easy to say that, but they've had some difficult wins, and they've all been wins. So we got to look at that and say, you know what, Mike Tomlin, you're doing a great job out there. But if we look back to last season, these guys finished 8-8. 8-8 would get you in the playoffs this year probably if they extended it out last year like how it is this year. So that's good to see that defense has ascended, and having Big Ben back has just shown that Mike Tomlin can take care the same way without players there as he does with players there. And I think he's 1 win shy right now of having his 14th consecutive non-losing season. And he hasn't been recognized as being Coach of the Year yet. And I know he has a Super Bowl. So what are we really saying? He hasn't done his job as a coach. I think it's finally time to give Mike Tomlin his recognition and make him a Coach of the Year.
And Tomlin might get there. I just have to go Flores as well because I think there's so much talent on this Pittsburgh team that it maybe takes away from Tomlin so far this season. Hey, if they go undefeated, sure. Maybe even if they go 15-1, 14-2, he might get it. But what Flores has done, we expected Miami to be better. We didn't expect it to come this season. And they've been absolutely terrific. You think about wins against Arizona, the Rams, the 49ers. These are, three solid teams. One score game against Seattle, one score game against Buffalo, who are two terrific teams who are going to be in the playoffs. So for me, he has his defense rocking and rolling. He takes a huge leap and go, Tua, you're our guy now. Even though they're 3-3, now they're 5-3. They have a big game this week against the Chargers, I believe. Again, it's a winnable game. They might make the playoffs, which is unbelievable. But he is a centerpiece for them, and everyone's buying into the culture that Flores is bringing to Miami. And, Luka, if it wasn't for the New York Jets, I honestly think the Patriots would be the worst team in that division for years to come because the Bills look good right now, and the Dolphins are on the rise. So with that, I think Flores might, and I think he deserves the Coach of the Year.
Yeah, again, I guess we're like 2 for 2 because I also have Mike Tomlinson at my top of the list for Coach of the Year. I mean, the Pittsburgh has a record right now, like 8-0. I think it's the first time that they've ever won so many games in a row. So I definitely think that it's Mike's time to shine as a coach. So that's just going to lead right into the next award I want to discuss is Offensive Player of the Year this far.
Guys, man, have you seen Davante Adams the last 2 weeks since he's come back? I have never seen this, I don't think, ever. And I've been watching football since I was a kid. This is, I think, the best receiver in the league right now. And the way he's playing, it's hard to go against it. Guys, he's got like 25 receptions, over like 300 yards. He just has 6 touchdowns or 5 touchdowns. He just scores. And when you look at Davante Adams, the thing for me when I look at receivers, or I look at running backs, I look at the talent on that offense, right? When you look at the pass-catching threats on the Green Bay Packers, really there's not really that big of many options. I mean, Scantling, yeah, he can have a big catch here and there. He can take guys over the top. Tonyan, they got their tight ends. Aaron Jones catches it out of the back. You don't have a true number 1 or true number 2 to go opposite of Davante Adams. So you got to really realize that these coaches, they're scheming to stop this guy. The game plan is don't let Davante Adams kill you, and he just does anyways. It doesn't matter who you put on him. You can put triple coverage on him, and he's not the fastest guy. And I think that's the most intriguing thing for me because he's not a guy who you have to worry about his 4.3 speed. He gets so wide open because of his route running, and that's him. That is all him, and he has the perfect quarterback with Aaron Rodgers who trusts him, gives him the ball, targets him, and looks like 20 times a game. So Davante Adams right now, if he can keep up this pace, I know he's missed a couple games. It's going to be hard for him to get this award. But right now, from what I'm seeing from Adams, he's got to be the Offensive Player of the Year. He is fantastic.
I like Davante Adams. I really do. I think I think him and Aaron, they have that combination in the league that can't be touched. Like the way he put the ball on him in that last game, the way he put it on his hands perfectly. Man, their relationship is crazy. But for me, I just had to look at the best in the game. Like, look no further if you're looking for Offensive Player of the Year. Come on. Patrick Mahomes over there in Kansas City. Oh, my God. Look at the work the boy is putting in. The only person who might be better than him offensively is probably Russell. But I'm not going to sit here and say Russell offensively are looking greater because those interceptions are starting to catch up to him. But right now, look at Patrick Mahomes. He's the first quarterback in history to have 20-plus TD passes with 1 or less interceptions through the first 8 games of the season. This boy's not playing around. He doesn't really throw crazy passes, and even if he does, they're still on point. He could close his eyes, put it behind his back, toss it to his mom, out to his father, and back to him. It's still a touchdown no matter what he does. It's pretty crazy, absolutely, what he's doing out there. But right now, he's on pace for what? 4,630 yards, 42 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions for the rest of the season. What is going on? This kid, if we look and we check his status and see what's going on with him, yeah, he's still the best. Patrick Mahomes, Offensive Player of the Year. Let's go.
For me, picking this award, and no discredit to you guys who are picking quarterbacks, I hate when quarterbacks get picked because they always win the MVPs. And something to take in last year, is Lamar Jackson, who goes, phenomenal numbers as a quarterback and goes for 1,000 rushing yards, isn't the offensive player of the year. That's usually what would happen if a quarterback can do that because he's creating the most offense. But you get big seasons from Michael Thomas, who ended up winning the award for setting the record amount of catches in a season. CMC goes for 1,000 and 1,000. He doesn't win it. So I think hopefully the NFL's leaning towards, okay, the quarterback, usually it's the most important position. You're the captain, you're the leader, you're touching the ball every single time. There's a great chance they're going to win the MVP every single time. So maybe offensive player of the year should go to somebody else, maybe a running back or receiver. In my case, it's a running back. Dalvin Cook, these last 2 weeks. Luca, you said Devontae Adams last 2 weeks. Dalvin Cook's last 2 weeks, 226 yards from scrimmage, 4 touchdowns. And then last week, we got 246 yards from scrimmage, 2 touchdowns, 200 yards on the ground. The dude's ridiculous. In this Vikings team, I hated what I was seeing in the beginning of the year. They might make the playoffs because of this guy. Right? Like, Kirk Cousins isn't playing well. The O-line's not playing well. The defense is hit or miss. You have Thielen and Jefferson, who the last 2 weeks haven't done much at all because Dalvin Cook right now is the most dominant player in football in a short period of time, only the 2 weeks. But if he can continue this, man, it's going to be a hell of a season. And if you look at the last 2 MVPs, I'm not saying it's going to win the MVP, the last 2 MVPs who were running backs, Adrian Peterson and LaDainian Tomlinson, Dalvin Cook has better numbers than them in his first 7 games. So there's a chance he could win this award.
Yeah, I hear you. I am Patrick Mahomes all the way. I mean, Devontae Adams is great. Dalvin Cook has definitely been impressive lately. But for me, like Patrick Mahomes, he's just got the whole package. So we're going to just change it up for a minute and let's discuss teams, starting with the most impressive team so far.
The most impressive team for me, guys, and we talked about their head coach earlier, I did, and it's the Miami Dolphins. No one hit it spot on. We did not expect the Dolphins to be this good this early. And the fact that they're able to go out here, be a 5-3 team halfway through the season. Right now, they're projected to go 10-6. That's a playoff spot. 7 teams are not. Even if there's 6 teams, they might be even the 5th seed. That's how good they're playing right now. And I think when you go into every single game and you look at the Dolphins, they have a chance to win every single one by the way they're playing. Tua's only going to get better. The receiving core does what they need to do. The defense, we've talked about it before, they can score. And I think right now Miami's got to be the most impressive team. 5-3 start, man, they are doing some things down there.
You see, Luke, I agree with you, but isn't that sacrilege on your part, man? Like taking the Dolphins and taking Brian Flores. Like, isn't that sacrilege to go against code? Yeah. Like, what's going on with you? But I gotta say, yeah, I agree with you. It's definitely the Miami Dolphins. Like we can all say it. It wasn't up to anyone's surprise when these guys started 0-2 this season. And we looked at them and said, you know what, same old Dolphins. It's probably going to be the same old road. Good luck getting your first pick. You guys will probably draft Trevor Lawrence, even though you have Tua on your team. You know what I mean? Something like that. But since then, they've been 5-1. They've been showing up defensively. They're allowing the 4th fewest points in the NFL. And I love what they're doing out there. Even with that QB switch, they still kept the momentum, which is shocking to say the least. So when we look at it, I think Brian Flores, he's actually instilled like the whole strong ethic and inspired gameplay for the whole entire team. And hey, man, remember when we had that talk a couple weeks ago? I warned y'all about this. You thought I was playing around, no? You thought I was playing around. They're about to play around and make the playoffs. They're about to make the playoffs. Mark my words.
All right. I'm going to seem like a bit of a hypocrite here because Coach of the Year I give to Brian Flores, but most impressive team I'm going to give to the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I'm more focusing on one team aspect of the Steelers. We knew their defense was going to be incredible. We knew they were going to be top 5, top 3, whatever it is, and they've proven that. Their offense, I thought they were going to take a step back because I thought Big Ben, misses. I think he only played, 15 games last year, and we had to see the Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph show, which was an absolute mess. But Big Ben has stepped up. He's looked pretty solid this year, and no one's really giving him MVP consideration. And I get that because you have Mahomes, Wilson, Kyler Murray, Josh Allen. You have all these other guys. If he can keep producing and putting up some solid numbers, someone's going to have to give him a vote here or there. And right, young receivers too. Juju Smith-Schuster has been in the league for a few years now, but even Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool, obviously your rookie of the year, they're delivering. And they're running, their running game in the first couple of weeks was pretty good. They can't run the ball right now, so they're really relying on Big Ben and this offense. So for me, I thought the Steelers weren't going to make the playoffs. I thought their defense was going to be good, but their offense was going to hold them back. Their offense has impressed me so much to a point that they're the most impressive team for me in their record shows.
And I completely agree. Pittsburgh is on my top of the list as well. I honestly didn't think that they were going to be where they are right now. Like I think Steven mentioned earlier, they finished off 8-8. Now they're the top team in the league. I mean, they've definitely blown me away. So, yeah, definitely most impressive team. So let's follow up with most disappointing team so far.
If I recall, guys, there was one person here. It wasn't Chantel. It wasn't me. It wasn't Nolan, who said that Dallas was going to be in the Super Bowl. Now, let me just retrack here. Steven, how are you thinking about that pick right now?
Hey, man, you can't prognosticate to get everything right. You understand that? You got to make mistakes somewhere, and I'll admit where I was wrong. I'll admit that.
Like, listen, Dallas, I'm going to be with you, though, Steven. I thought they were going to do way better than what they are. We all blame Jason Garrett for years. They got rid of him. They bring in Mike McCarthy. You can't predict injuries. And, yes, the quarterbacks have gone down like flies for the Dallas Cowboys, the most important position in the sport. But they weren't doing that great with Dak Prescott either. And their defense, they're bottom 5 when it comes to stopping the run. They don't turn the ball over, and they turn it over. Their margin is the worst in the NFL. That's not a recipe for success. You're set up to fail if you give away the ball and you don't take it away. So right there, the Dallas Cowboys, they are in a lot of trouble, especially in that division. You should be winning that division. I mean, you still have the best team on paper, but they are not doing that. And Dallas, for me, is the most disappointing team halfway through the year.
Oh, disappointing teams, man. You know what? Dallas actually beat my disappointing team if I think back to it right now. And I'm looking at my team and I'm saying, you know what? So much first-round talent that they have on that team. They have all these underdog hopes of winning such a tough division. And I look back and I say all these squandered games. And then the 2 historically bad losses that they had, the Atlanta Falcons, you guys are sitting in that throne high and mighty above the league as so disappointing. And then what do you guys do to put the cherry on top of the sundae? You go ahead and you fire your head coach and your GM. Wow, you guys, like, it's just living up to it. But the funny thing is, since they've done that, they've been 3-1. So it's actually surprising to see how the team has turned around another leaf and gone a different direction. But I still feel like for this first half, they've been such a disappointment. I'm just happy to see that Raheem Morris is finally going to have another shot at being a head coach somewhere in the league. And I hope that everything works out for him. But, hey, you can say adios to any hopes of, like, winning that division. Like, we've watched that spin out of control as much as an onside kick, if I can say that. So, yeah, Atlanta Falcons, most disappointing.
Both great choices, guys. Obviously, Dallas, they've been a mess, and that defense has been atrocious. And you talk about the Falcons, every single year I'm high on them as well because I think the offense, it's going to click again. We're going to see that, and we don't see that because their defense is so bad, too, that the offense just has to put up an amount of points, which is insurmountable. So, for me, the most disappointing team, it is the New England Patriots. And yes, I get it. Tom Brady leaves. So many players opt out because of COVID-19, which is completely understandable. But we go, you know what? They still have this coach, which is absolutely terrific. And then you get Cam Newton in. And in the first couple games, they look pretty good, right? And Luke always brings it up. He goes, one-score game. They almost beat Seattle. And now we've seen Seattle's defense is terrible. And that was the best the Patriots offense has looked all year because recently – their offense has looked awful. Their defense has looked awful. It's been a mess. They almost lost to the Jets. The Jets. Oh, boy. How are they letting all these – Rashad Perryman have a field day against them? Joe Flacco hasn't been relevant since 2012. Like, what is going on with New England? We've seen the Patriots, destroy teams by 30, 40 points, and Bill Belichick is still just monotone on to Cincinnati. Doesn't matter. They beat the Jets. You saw a fist bump. He was pumped. What's going on? They've been so disappointing. They are going to be drafting in the top 10, and maybe they get their quarterback of the future. But right now, it is ugly in Massachusetts.
Yeah, I agree. But for me, I have Atlanta as my most disappointing team. It's just for me, like the past few years, it just seems like they get worse and worse and worse. And I'm to the point where like, I don't even want to watch them play. you know?
Mhm.
So it's just like you can't get that spark out of Atlanta that you're looking for. All right, so let's move on. One of the most favored awards, MVP. So Luca, who is your MVP?
I predict this at the start of the year. I'm going to stick with it, even though I think he's gone down in the last couple of weeks. I'm going to stick with Russ. He's still leading the league in touchdowns. His team is still in a playoff spot. And guys, when you talk about most valuable player, I mean, if you have any other quarterback, that team is probably not in a playoff spot, and they're probably below 500 because of what Nolan said, right? Their defense is atrocious. You acquire a guy like Jamal Adams, you think it's going to put the defense over the top, and it's been actually worse. It has not been a great defense that you could throw the ball on the Seattle defense. When have we ever heard that before? You can run the ball on the Seattle defense. That we are not used to seeing. And they're not taking the ball away either to give Russ extra possessions. So for me, the fact that Russ has still got this team up to 6 wins, DK Metcalf, he's taken a step forward. Tyler Lockett, his connection with Russ is great. Carson in the backfield. The coaching staff is still great, but if they don't have Russell Wilson under center, I think Seattle's in big trouble to miss the playoffs. They could be picking in the top 15. That's how bad the defense is. So Russ is carrying this team right now. I'm going to stick with him. I don't like what I've been seeing the last couple of weeks with the turnovers, but I still think he leads the league in MVP votes just by this much.
Yep. You see this? I'm just whisking up my batter, whisking up my batter because that's what Russ has been doing this early start of the season. It's crazy. I'm gonna drop a little factoid. This guy is about to trademark "Let Russ cook." He's about to make money off that little tagline there. I like that. But words be words, points be points, facts be facts, whatever. I think right now Russell is out there and he's looking like a boss. Like you said, Luka, the interceptions have picked up. But I think that's because he's having to pass a lot more than he normally would because they were a lot more of a running-based team. But now you're putting a lot more on his shoulders, a lot more on his back. And you know what? I feel like all their wins that they're winning, you put it on him. But the losses that they losing at, you put it on him too. So no matter what side, he's the guy that you have to look to for that team. And they rely on him both sides of the ball, no matter how much you think about it. I think it's going to be hard for him to do anything less because right now he's on pace for a league record of 59 touchdowns. And if he hits that, boy, oh boy, you're going to be regretting not giving this guy at least one MVP vote before this because he might snatch that with all those votes. Russell Wilson, let's go.
You know what? It's going to be tough if he breaks the touchdown mark to not give him the award.
Yeah.
That would just be insane. Though, you're talking about Russ cooking. I don't know what he's been cooking the last 2 weeks, but it's got to be like macaroni salad with raisins or something mixing it because it has been awful. I'm going to go with the best player on the best team. They are 8-1, 67% completion percentage, 25 passing touchdowns, 1 pick. And something that's important too, 2 rushing touchdowns. He is the LeBron James of football. You can't stop him. Because right now, all right, if you try to cover all these receivers, which is hard enough, is once he gets pressure, he picks up the first down. He's that athletic. He could just go pick up the first down, and the offense keeps moving. We haven't seen them struggle that offensively at all this season. Maybe a little bit in the rain against Buffalo, maybe here and there against New England where it was, still not very great weather. Okay, the team loses to the Raiders, even though I believe, KC still put up 34 points or whatever it is. He's the best player on the best team. He's going to finish with 48 touchdowns and 3 picks. It's going to be a better season than the MVP season he had a couple years back. It's going to be tough not to give it to him. The only thing is, if Wilson ends up getting 57 touchdowns and keeps those interceptions low, because if it's 57 and say 20 picks, okay, that he's passing the ball quite a bit because their defense is so bad. But for me, right now, we've seen the last 2 weeks who's been the better player, and it's been Patrick Mahomes, and right now I'm going to give him the award.
And I am Patrick Mahomes all the way for MVP. It's so funny because Nolan, you mentioned earlier, like with offensive players not being, quarterbacks as MVPs usually are, and I have him for both because he's just that good. Well, that was a fantastic discussion, guys. It was so much fun. It'll be really nice to see come actual award time if our favorites are favored. So that's going to bring us to Super Bowl 55 predictions. So, Steven, tell us, what 2 teams do you think are going to be matched up in this season's upcoming Super Bowl?
No long talk. Kansas City Chiefs, the best, versus the New Orleans Saints with the hopes of Drew Brees winning a championship in his last season. I'm going to say nothing else. That's it. Look out for it.
Oh yeah, sorry, Nolan, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. A little delay from me here because it's so tough to make this pick. Casey, obvious. I bounced all the way with all these different teams, and I'm going to stick by Tampa Bay. And they look terrible. They look terrible against the Saints, but to me, I think it's all going to come down to matchups. And if they get a matchup where it's a team that can't put pressure on them, say like a Seattle, maybe even like a Green Bay, I think they'll win that game. They just basically have to avoid New Orleans because there's other teams that might match up well with New Orleans, like a Seattle, like a Green Bay, and can maybe eliminate them first. I'm not counting out Tom Brady quite yet. I'm not counting out that defense quite yet. Their offense looked terrible last week, and I think that's because they're trying to get Antonio Brown in the mix a little too much. I don't know how many times we saw Brady make some throws that he shouldn't have even tried to make, just trying to get Brown comfortable. It's going to come. They're going to get back to it, and I still have KC and Tampa Bay.
Okay, well, I'm going to go a bit different in the AFC.
New England.
No, sorry. I wish. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. I just have a gut feeling, guys, that when it comes to Patrick Mahomes or Pittsburgh in the AFC Championship game, like I think that's going to happen. I don't know. I just have a feeling that Ben is still the guy that can make that play at the end of the game. There's just something about it. They're never out of it, KC, because you got Patrick Mahomes, you got number 15 there. But I like their defense better than KC's. I think maybe they can contain just a little bit, just to put Pittsburgh over the edge because, like Nolan, you said, their offense is pretty impressive this year. So I'm going to stick with Pittsburgh for now. And then in the NFC, I got the Saints. I said at the beginning of the year, I think they're going to overcome all the adversity in the offseason that happened with Drew Brees and this team. Michael Thomas, he's finally back. He should be ready. Once playoff time comes, he's going to be in full throttle. This Saints offense is going to be better than ever. I got the Saints coming out, and who knows what's going to happen in the Super Bowl, guys. You never know.
Yeah, that's so true. You never know. You think it's going to go one way, and it goes a completely different way. I also have KC, but I have their opponent as Seattle. I think that Seattle's going to do it this year. I think Russell Wilson really wants it bad, so I think we're gonna have KC and the Seahawks in the battle. Okay, so that's going to bring us to our top 5 power ranking teams after week 9, heading into week 10. So I'm going to get us started here. This weekend was pretty difficult. We have so many teams that have 6 wins, so it was really difficult to pick between them. But I decided to go with Baltimore as number 5. I thought they played a really good game against the Colts. And it was just a really good matchup. I was impressed with them. Number 4, I have the Saints. They haven't been on my list the past few weeks, but after that blowout on Monday night against Tampa Bay, I mean, Drew Brees really showed that they came prepared to win and win big. So that was fantastic. Number 3, Buffalo. Another big win against the Seahawks. My goodness. Josh Allen played fantastic. I think that was the best game that I've ever seen him play. Then at number 2, I have Pittsburgh. I took them down from the number 1 spot to number 2 just because that game against the Cowboys should have been a blowout. Mm-hmm. They really struggled in the beginning, but then they managed to pull it together and bring home the win. Still 8-0, doing a great job. And then Kansas City at number 1.
Yeah, I have, pretty similar all the way down the board. 5, I actually ended up putting Buffalo here, and they were off my list for a little bit. Impressive win against Seattle, and Josh Allen, he looks like he's back. I put New Orleans at 4, and, we took him off, in the beginning of the season once Las Vegas came in there, but hey, guys, if Michael Thomas can add this much to the offense and their defense shines against Tampa Bay, which is a pretty good offense, they look scary. And I hate to say that, but they look really good right now. 3, I put Baltimore up. And it's kind of bizarre to see that because, Indianapolis is a really good team. And they shut them down. This defense for the Ravens is legit. And if their offense can figure it out, again, 2 tough matchups in a row, Pittsburgh and Indianapolis, they nearly beat Pittsburgh on that final play of the game. I think they're rising up the boards. And then 2, Pittsburgh, like you mentioned, Chantel, it's the Cowboys. You got to blow them out. That scares me if you can't put up 30 points on that defense. And number 1, Chiefs.
Okay. Well, for me this week, it was all about winning your in. So let's start with number 5, the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers, 305 yards, 4 touchdowns. Rodgers to Adams, there was 12 targets there. They killed it. That's number 5. Number 4, we got the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen, they let that boy go back to work again with his hard hat. Put his full hard hat on. 415 yards, 3 touchdowns. The defense, 5 sacks, 4 turnovers. Russell Wilson, what happened to you, my guy? Number 3, the New Orleans Saints. 222 yards from Drew Brees, 4 touchdowns. Sounds efficient. That defense, 3 sacks, 3 interceptions. Tom Brady, question marks everywhere. Number 2, the Pittsburgh Steelers. You guys, 18 carries, 46 yards total? I don't like that much. 3 wins in the last row, less than 5 points? You guys are number 2, still looking good. But come on, the Kansas City Chiefs, number 1, like I told you guys, they're still there. Mm-hmm. Patrick Mahomes killing it. Hill and Kelsey, oh my God, that team's unstoppable. Let's go.
Okay, guys, I'm going to be quick here. Number 5, I got the Bills. They jumped back into the top 5. We all know what they did. Josh Allen, best game of his career probably against Seattle. Minded it's that defense, but still got the job done. Number 4, the Saints. They beat the team that we all thought was a top 3 team in this league. And they went in there, and they didn't just destroy them. They killed them. They just put them out of their misery. I mean, they did not look good, Tampa Bay. And the Saints come in there at number 4. Number 3, the reason I have Baltimore there is because they've been in my top 5. I can't really push them down to 2 teams that haven't been in here for a while. They're starting to get their things going. But again, Lamar Jackson, they're starting to figure out teams how to stop this offense. We saw that they went into a defensive battle with Indy. They did come out with the win. But for them to be better, Lamar has to be better. Number 2, the Steelers. You got to blow out that team. I don't care if you don't have film on the guy. If you're that defense, you got to shut them out, and you got to go put up at least 35 points. And then number 1, Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes. There's nothing else to say.
All right, so there you have it. Our top 5 picks heading into week 10. That concludes our episode for today. Thank you so much for joining us on Touchdown with True Sports, brought to you by Pickups, your everything on demand delivery app. We'll see you next week.